Australia. Big country, like I'm used to here in the USA. Big by landmass, of course, and you need highways, right? To get around, you need cars, you need highways. And we're looking at why Australia's highway numbers are a mess. I don't know. Don't know anything about it. Would like to learn. This is a Discord suggestion from Burnout Perth. And, of course, this video comes from the channel Figscapes. Will be linked in the description down below, so make sure to check it out so you can watch the whole thing uninterrupted. The American interstate system, in my opinion, is pretty awesome, pretty straightforward to use. Let's learn a little bit how Australia's one works and why apparently the numbers are a mess. Here we go.
Been said before on this channel that Australia is a vast country. And although as much as 85% of the Australian population lives near to the coast, there remains a group of approximately 3.5 million people who call the rural inland of Australia home. Connecting the country together, of course, is Australia's expansive network of highways, a diverse network consisting of 10-lane motorways, deeply corrugated dirt tracks, and every kind of road in between, a network that keeps Australia moving. Today's video is about something quite niche. However, it is also about something that is needlessly complicated and quite easily fixed. Can you guess what it is? These 4 roads.
So what's interesting to me is looking at these, these are very similar when we're talking about the font and, of course, the color, the green color. These are almost, I wouldn't say identical, that's too strong of a word, but they're very similar to American road signs, that you would see here in the United States. And then, of course, I'm assuming this is in kilometers, not miles. When we're talking about the markers here, they're the numbers. Obviously, the names being different, like A7, that's different than you would see here.
These 4 roads in the city of Brisbane show off the topic of this video. Each one of them is represented by a different kind of route designation. Nationwide, there are 6 different route designation types, and yet here we find 4 of them together, all in the one suburb, let alone the one city, let alone the one state. Queensland is like a kid in a candy store with route designations, using all 6. While other states and territories have standardized to a much smaller number of route designation, even then, they are not always consistent between one another. This, of course, leads to inconsistency. For example, one of the inland routes between northern New South Wales and Brisbane is the Summerland Way and Mount Lindesay Highway route, via Casino, Kyogle and Beaudesert. In New South Wales, the route carries the B91 designation, and in Queensland it carries the National Route 13 shield until its terminus in Brisbane's southern suburbs, as shown earlier in the video. However, even when the same type of designation is used, inconsistency can arise, such as with the A79-B79 corridor from Victoria into New South Wales, or the B71-A71 and B55 to A55 corridors from New South Wales crossing into Queensland.
Now, those examples aren't terrible. They're not terrible, but I do admit it is a little bit of an annoyance, right, when you hop onto something as B79 or whatever. I'm just using a generic example here. It as that name, and then you cross state lines or just go into a different region, and then it's the same road, but it changes names, and it might change names a third time. That's quite rare here in the U.S., but it does happen. There's a few famous ones that does happen with, and it is quite annoying, right? It's easier, obviously, if you can take I-80. I-80 actually doesn't run coast to coast. I'm about to say that, and that's wrong. But you get what I mean. I mean that most interstates will take you pretty far across almost the whole country. And that's what I meant, and they'll stay consistent. From the East Coast to the West Coast, for example, here in the U.S. That's nice states. I-10, Florida, all the way to California. You know what I mean? So naturally, it's easier to just follow one. But those weren't too bad. But again, some people, driving is just not what they like or not their strong suit. It might confuse some people.
While only Western Australia and the Northern Territory do not implement the alphanumeric road numbering scheme in some form or another, it is used in the rest of the country. Even then, the extent to which it is used and applied varies between states and territories greatly. Queensland uses only M and A alphanumeric routes for motorways and primary highways. New South Wales and the Australian Capital Territory both incorporate B-level routes, which are less significant highways, often linking population centres, but aren't the primary through route for a region. New South Wales also incorporates a unique D-level designation for detours, however only 2 D-level routes are assigned. Victoria and Tasmania incorporate C-level routes, which link smaller settlements and towns to the rest of the major road network, where numbering would assist with navigation. South Australia implements M, A, and B routes widely, with C routes only being continuations of those crossing the border from Victoria. South Australia also implements the only R-level route in the country, the R1 City Ring Route, a collection of major roads previously signposted as A21 in and around the Adelaide city centre. Australia introduced its first route numbering system with the black on white national route and white on blue state route shields in 1955 to assist in the navigation of Australia's road network. National route shields were assigned on a national level, and generally with odd numbers running north-south and even numbers running east-west.
Okay, now that's cool. I can dig that because, you know, like in a sense it's similar. Is at least when we're talking about interstates, what we do here. Obviously, like I said, I-10, I-40, I-80, all these, you know, they run east-west. I-25, things like that. If they end in 5, they run north-south. This is actually fun to see because I'm a geography guy. I love learning about maps and seeing how countries are formed. And then, of course, I actually like, you know, driving. I like roads. So I guess interstates, highways, roads, they're kind of interesting to me. So this is something I have not really deep dived into on Australia that I really would like to expand upon and see how it relates to my experience in the U.S., how it differs. This is kind of cool.
With the exception of Highway 1, which circumnavigates the country.
That's right.
State routes are assigned by states, and so state routes were and are not unique nationwide. In 1974, the federal government took over responsibility for the funding of Australia's most important highway connections. These nationally funded roads received their own distinct gold-on-green shields. With the exception of Tasmania, which adopted its alphanumeric system in 1979, the route shield system was consistent across the entire nation until the 1990s, when Victoria and South Australia began to introduce their alphanumeric systems. In 2013, New South Wales and the ACT switched to the alphanumeric system, leaving the nation in a discordant state it finds itself today. With Western Australia and the Northern Territory using the original shield system, South Australia and New South Wales, the Capital Territory, and Tasmania using exclusively the alphanumeric system, Victoria using an alphanumeric system supplemented with state route shields within the Melbourne metropolitan area, and finally the disastrously undecided state of Queensland using everything they can. It's clear to see how much...
Look, this kind of thing I feel like once I learned these and got a grasp on these, I think I'd be good driving around Australia, you know, road tripping or something. I don't, obviously it's not ideal to have every state and territory have their own version. Some use these, some use those. You know, they're all using a little bit different levels of road and of course, different signs, of course, with Queensland featuring the most. Whereas South Australia, you know, might be more simplistic. So, yeah, is it a mess? I suppose it is a mess, especially when you see it laid out like this. But I feel like it's an organized mess. That's a word or a phrase I like to say a lot. It's not that bad, and I feel like people, this is obviously a video that you can weigh in on. Do you think it's a mess? Do you think it needs some revision? Or do you think, yeah, it's not like perfect, but it works, it's easy enough to follow, and you don't have any issues while traveling? Please let me know your experience down below, and especially bonus points wherever you're watching. You don't have to be from Australia. Wherever you're watching, have you been to the U.S., and did you like our interstate system? Did you find it easy to travel between states by vehicle, or did you not like it for some reason?
Much of a mess Australia's highways are when it comes to their designations. The solution is of course quite simple. Mandate the adoption of a national alphanumeric route numbering scheme. This solution of course requires cooperation and collaboration between states to ensure consistency across borders and around the nation, but would greatly simplify the navigation of Australia's vast highway network.
Yeah, because that's one thing I am glad that we have here in the U.S., they all adopt the I-10, the I-80, like I was talking about. Those are universal for the whole country. Obviously, they have their own state highways, their own county roads, all these different things. At least you can count on major federal highways, for being consistent by one major network.
There is simply no reason for something so simple to be so complicated. Well, there is one primary reason: money. The main roads departments of the Western Australian and Northern Territory governments have said they will not redesignate roads without further road funding. And with their stating they will not redesignate the remaining 2 metro routes within Brisbane, Queensland's main roads department appears similarly unlikely to invest in rationalising the route numbering used around the state. Is this a relatively minor thing? Sure. Is it a pedant's worst nightmare? Could be. Should you leave a like?
Well, there you go. There you have it. That is... or this will rather be linked in the description down below, so you can watch the whole thing uninterrupted and browse their channel. Got to say, pretty fun to see an introduction to their highways, their interstate system, how you get around the country. And yeah, it is a little bit of a mess. It should be a little more connected, a little more fluid. But you know what? It is what it is. Do you expect to see change in this? Do you expect to see more funding? So states and territories will have incentive, the same boat, so to say, and everyone be more linked up universally there? Or do you think it is going to stay this way, at least for the foreseeable future? Let me know your thoughts on that down below. And in closing, a couple points and questions I want to bring up for you guys in the comments, like I always do. Funding is always part of it, right? Money is always talk when we're talking about big stuff like this. And do you guys have tolls on certain roads or in certain states? That's a question I have. Are they common? Are they annoying? Are they expensive? Things like that. Please weigh in on that. There are only a few states here in the U.S., in my experience, that do it. Most states, are free and have pretty good roads. So, for example, near me, where we're at now, we're back in Illinois. Iowa and Wisconsin, they border us. They have beautiful roads, really well maintained, really well taken care of. And of course, there are no tolls. You hop on the highway, you go where you want to go. No one bothers you. But of course, here in Illinois, Illinois is famous for this around the book. Illinois is very expensive. I don't know why. And our highways, it seems at like every 5 minutes, this whole northern Illinois corner, you go around and it is just toll. There's $3. Literally 7 minutes later, another toll. There's $3. Like toll. There's tons. They're very expensive. And the best part is our taxes are super high. Our tolls are super high. And our roads are the worst. I'm not kidding. The roads are just not good here. And I think it's funny that it's so expensive to drive here, and yet the roads are horrible. But in Iowa and Wisconsin, less taxes, no tolls, and their roads are significantly better. So do you have a similar dynamic like that in Australia, where maybe, certain stretches of road are nice and there's no tolls, or are there some with tolls and, you got to fork out some dollars? And also the last question I had is more for fun. I don't take it too seriously. It's more just thinking out loud for fun, like a what if question. Do you think it would be possible to build an over the sea, over the water highway from basically mainland Australia down to Tasmania? Or is that too far away? Remember, I don't have experience with this firsthand. I'm sure you guys have told me the distance before. I can't remember because I've been flooded with a million facts about Australia, and I can't retain all of them at any given second. Would that even be feasible? Is it too far away? Things like that. So yeah, how far away would be the closest point in Tasmania to the closest point in the mainland? And would, like some sort of a road where you could drive across be realistic or feasible? Leave a like on this video, a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, maybe learned something new. It will really help the video out. I appreciate it. And of course, you can subscribe, join our amazing community here. We are closing in on 100K. I need your help. Let's go. Finally, check the description for this original video, as I stated earlier, as well as other ways you can interact with me and support me. My name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. Until next time, y'all. Catch you later.